Lena Vera adjusted the strap of her satchel as she stepped onto the polished platform that led into the grand Zephyrian city. The towering crystal spires reflected the soft glow of three suns, painting the sky with streaks of violet, amber, and turquoise. For a moment, she paused, letting the scene wash over her. The city was breathtaking, alien, yet alive in ways that humans had only imagined in stories. Floating bridges connected the towers, glimmering with energy, and aerial transports darted like living sparks above the streets below. Despite its beauty, Lena's heart tightened. She had not come here to marvel at architecture or alien technology. She had come here for a marriage she did not want. Lena had been a diplomat for the Earth Confederation for nearly 6 years, and she knew the politics behind this visit better than anyone. The Zephyrian Empire wanted an alliance, and they had demanded a human representative to seal it through marriage. Lena had been chosen not because she was particularly ambitious or skilled in interstellar negotiation, but because she had survived encounters in dangerous diplomatic zones, had a sharp mind, and most importantly, could think for herself. Her independence had earned her respect at home and suspicion abroad. Now, standing before the colossal gates of the Zephyrian Palace, she wondered if her independence would be welcome here at all. The gates opened silently, revealing a hall lined with translucent panels that shifted colors with the mood of the room. Servants, or perhaps attendants, moved in precise patterns, their limbs elongated and elegant in ways that humans had never seen. Everything in this palace seemed choreographed, smooth, and flawless. Lena felt small, a single thread in a tapestry she did not yet understand. "Welcome, Lena Vera of Earth," a voice intoned. It was melodic yet firm, carrying authority without raising volume. A figure emerged from the shadows, Princess Kalira. She was taller than Lena expected, with skin that shimmered faintly in the ambient light, and eyes that glowed softly like polished gemstones. Kalira's expression was neutral, almost unreadable, as though she had seen everything before. Lena's first thought was that the princess seemed cold, unapproachable, and utterly unamused by humans. Then Kalira's eyes locked on Lena, and everything changed. It was subtle at first. Her gaze lingered. A slight shift, a small pause, but it was enough for Lena to notice. The princess froze, her hands hovering midair, her perfect composure shaken just slightly. Lena tilted her head, curious but instinctively respectful. There was no fear in Kalira's eyes, only surprise, and perhaps something else, something Lena could not name. "I am Lena Vera," she said, bowing slightly in the human manner, a gesture of respect but also of independence. "I have come as Earth's representative." Unlike what you expected. She had encountered many beings who underestimated humans, dismissing them as primitive. It was rare and exhilarating to meet someone who recognized potential at a glance, even if she herself had not expected it. She followed Kalira through the hall, their footsteps echoing on polished floors that reflected their movements perfectly. Guards and attendants gave them a wide berth, their gazes respectful but wary. Lena noticed details everywhere. The delicate energy filaments running through the walls, the panels that responded to touch and thought, the way the entire palace seemed alive. Yet in the midst of all this perfection, Lena felt her own humanity not as a weakness, but as a kind of power. Humans had a way of adapting, of turning unexpected situations into opportunities. Perhaps the princess had sensed that. "You will stay in the guest wing," Kalira said, her tone formal but not unkind. "There you will be safe and attended to. We begin discussions tomorrow." She would observe, learn, and act when necessary. Humanity thrived not by blending in but by standing out. And she intended to prove it. The guest wing was unlike anything Lena had imagined. Her room was spacious, with walls of translucent crystal that shifted color according to her mood. The furniture seemed alive, responding to her movements, adjusting for comfort. Even the bed reshaped itself subtly as she sat, offering support where she needed it. It was luxurious, yes, but also slightly unnerving. Lena had lived in modest quarters during her diplomatic missions, and while she appreciated comfort, she preferred control. She spent an hour exploring the room, examining how things worked, touching the panels and noting the energy patterns. It was clear that Zephyrian design was brilliant, but she already had ideas for improvement, small changes perhaps that could make life easier without breaking protocol. Her mind buzzed with possibilities. Even in a world so advanced, human ingenuity found space to shine. As night fell, Lena walked out to the terrace overlooking the city. The floating bridges shimmered, the crystal towers glowed, and the air vibrated with subtle energy currents. From up here, everything seemed peaceful, almost serene. But she knew peace was often only the surface of reality. The politics, the alliances, the expectations, they were all real, and she would navigate them on her own terms. A soft voice spoke behind her. "You are awake late." Kalira stepped onto the terrace, her figure framed by the glowing cityscape. Lena turned, surprised that the princess had come unannounced. Kalira's expression was unreadable, yet her eyes held that same lingering curiosity from their first meeting. "I could say the same of you," Lena replied, keeping her tone neutral. "I find it difficult to sleep when I am in a strange city, surrounded by perfection. We notice, we adapt, we survive. Something rare." She turned away slightly, looking over the city. "I do not know if I am ready for it or for you." This was what humans had always faced, beings who underestimated them. And yet here, a single human had caused hesitation in one of the most formidable alien minds she had ever met. "I do not intend to be anyone's pawn," Lena said softly, speaking partly to herself, partly to Kalira. "I will not be placed on a pedestal or pushed aside. I will be myself." She realized that perhaps the first step to surviving and influencing this alien society was simply being herself. Her courage, her ingenuity, her independence, they were her strength. And for the first time, she felt that maybe those strengths were recognized here. The night deepened, and the city below glimmered like a field of stars captured in crystal. Lena returned to her room, but sleep did not come easily. Thoughts of Kalira's gaze, the frozen moment in the ceremonial hall, and the realization that humanity had power even here, kept her awake. She knew that the days ahead would be filled with observation, negotiation, and careful action. But one truth had settled firmly in her mind. She would not be merely a human in a palace. She would be a force, a presence, a spark that even the most perfect of alien worlds could not ignore. As Lena finally drifted into sleep, the last thought on her mind was not fear, not doubt, but anticipation. Tomorrow would bring challenges, tests, and decisions. But for now, she was awake to a reality few humans had ever touched. And somewhere in the grand halls of the Zephyrian Palace, Princess Kalira lay awake as well, thinking of the human who had stepped into her world and frozen her with a single glance. In that moment, both of them understood something unspoken. The arrival of one human could change everything. The next morning, Lena awoke to the soft hum of energy coursing through her room. Light from the three suns filtered through the crystalline walls, casting patterns across the floor that seemed almost alive. She stretched and took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of excitement and determination. Today was her first full day in Zephyra, and she intended to make it count, not as a visitor, but as a human who could think, adapt, and maybe even surprise the aliens who watched her so closely. A soft chime sounded, and a panel near her bed lit up, displaying a schedule. A voice, calm and melodic, spoke. "Lena Vera, your escort awaits. The princess requests your presence for a guided introduction to Zephyrian society." Lena nodded to herself. She had expected protocol, rules, and perhaps endless lessons in etiquette. What she had not expected was the possibility that she could also learn, observe, and find ways humans could shine in a society so advanced. Stepping into the corridor, Lena found a small, floating platform waiting for her. It hovered silently, responding to her presence, and lifted her smoothly toward the main hall. The palace seemed to watch her as she moved, every panel and surface gleaming with calculated elegance. When she arrived, Princess Kalira was already there, standing near a set of stairs that seemed to defy gravity. Lena noticed the way the princess's gaze flicked toward her, not with judgment this time, but with interest. It made Lena smile inwardly. Humans were not easily intimidated, and she intended to prove it. "Good morning," Kalira said. Her voice was soft but carried authority. "Today you will see the city, meet some of our leaders, and observe our daily life. I trust you are ready." The walls shifted their colors based on their thoughts. Floating platforms moved silently to transport citizens, and devices seemed to anticipate needs before anyone spoke. Lena noted everything, not just for curiosity, but because humans had a way of finding gaps, noticing what could be improved, or responding when the unexpected happened. Even in a perfect system, a human could see opportunity. Their first stop was the city's energy hub. Here, Zephyrians controlled the flow of power to every building, bridge, and transport in the city. Lena watched as the operators adjusted glowing panels with precise gestures. Each action seemed calculated, perfect, yet rigid. She noticed a small misalignment in the energy readouts, a pattern that a Zephyrian might have ignored but a human could predict. Lena smiled to herself. Even here, human intuition could make a difference. You notice quickly, Kalira said, watching her with the same quiet intensity. Most humans would not see that. We observe, we learn, and we adapt. It was a subtle victory. The princess was curious, and curiosity was the first step toward respect. Next, Kalira took Lena to the market district, a place where Zephyrians traded goods, technology, and information. The architecture here was just as alien: floating stalls, levitating cargo, and energy fields that displayed goods in midair. Lena's eyes widened in wonder, but she did not let awe cloud her mind. She moved carefully, observing interactions, noting patterns of trade and negotiation. Humans had a natural ability to read people, to detect intentions through small cues, and Lena found herself applying it even among beings she barely understood. A young Zephyrian vendor approached them, bowing politely. "Princess Kalira, may I introduce some new energy modules?" The vendor gestured to floating cubes that pulsed with light. Lena's gaze flicked to them, and she noticed something the vendor did not. The modules had a subtle instability in one corner, barely detectable, but enough that they could fail under high stress. "These modules," Lena said, carefully pointing, "they might not hold under maximum load. The design could be slightly adjusted for balance." She spoke gently, avoiding offense, but firm enough to be taken seriously. Kalira's eyes widened, and Lena caught a flicker of surprise. The vendor hesitated, then nodded, visibly impressed. "Your observation is accurate," the vendor admitted. Few notice such details. After the market, they visited a research facility where Zephyrians studied interstellar phenomena. Lena watched scientists manipulate complex instruments, adjusting fields of energy and analyzing data streams. She quickly noticed a pattern in their calculations, a minor assumption that made predictions slightly inaccurate. It was subtle, almost invisible, but Lena saw it immediately. With a few suggestions, she corrected the prediction, improving the outcome. The lead scientist blinked in surprise, then smiled, a rare human-like reaction in Zephyrians. Kalira's eyes shone with something Lena had not seen before: respect. "You do not merely observe," the princess said quietly. "You improve what you touch." Humans like to solve problems. It was clear that the princess was learning as much about humanity as Lena was learning about Zephyra. As the suns began to set, casting long streaks of color across the city, Kalira led Lena to a quiet garden terrace. Floating platforms held pools of liquid that shimmered with alien light, and energy vines curled around crystalline supports. The air was fragrant with alien blooms, and the sound of gentle currents filled the space. "You have seen much today," Kalira said, her voice softer now, "and yet I feel you are not content merely to watch." Most humans would fear such openness in a foreign world. Determined, Lena realized that her instincts, her courage, and her refusal to conform were her strengths. They were what made her human, and now they were what made her powerful in this world. They sat in silence for a while, watching the city lights pulse like living stars. Lena felt a quiet satisfaction, a sense of belonging that she had not expected. She was far from Earth, in a place utterly alien, yet her humanity gave her a foothold. She could influence, adapt, and even impress beings who were centuries ahead in technology and culture. For the first time in her life, she realized that being human was not a limitation, it was a gift. Kalira spoke again, her voice almost a whisper. "Tomorrow you will attend the council. You will see our leaders, our elders. Many will expect you to follow rules, to remain passive. You must be yourself. Perhaps unlike any being I have seen." She had seen, learned, and already left subtle marks on Zephyrian society without lifting a weapon or breaking a rule. Her mind buzzed with plans for tomorrow, for the council, and for all the challenges ahead. She knew they would test her, question her, and perhaps even try to push her aside. But she also knew that humans, even one human, could find ways to stand firm, to shine, and to inspire. For the first time, Lena felt not like a pawn in alien politics, but like a spark, capable of igniting change in a world that believed it was already perfect. Somewhere in the palace, Princess Kalira likely thought the same thing. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and resourceful. And one human, Lena Vera, had already begun to prove that the species was capable of more than even the most advanced alien minds could imagine. The city shimmered below, a sea of light, energy, and motion. Lena lay down, her thoughts clear, her resolve firm, and her mind alive with possibilities. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new observations, and new chances. And she would meet them all as a human, strong, clever, and unafraid. For even here, on a world that was not her own, humanity had power, and Lena intended to show it. And somewhere, far above the city, Princess Kalira watched silently, still remembering the human who had frozen her with a single glance, and wondering what other surprises might be coming. The next day, Lena awoke to a sense of purpose she had never felt before in her life. The city outside her window glimmered under the morning suns, its towers casting long, sparkling reflections on the flowing energy rivers below. Today, she was to attend the council meeting of the Zephyrian elders, a gathering that would determine much of the politics surrounding her arrival. The council was known for its strict adherence to tradition and logic, a place where humans had rarely been allowed. Lena's presence alone was unprecedented, and she knew that every eye would be on her. She dressed simply in the human style she had chosen for comfort and practicality, knowing that Zephyrians valued elegance and formality. Kalira arrived at the guest wing shortly after, her presence quiet but commanding. Lena noticed that the princess's usual poise seemed slightly unsettled. Kalira's lips were pressed together, and there was a faint tension in her shoulders that Lena had not seen before. It was subtle, but humans could read such signs easily. "You are ready," Kalira said, her voice calm but carrying an undercurrent of concern. "The council will test you. They may try to intimidate, confuse, or mislead. Be prepared." Humans have faced that before. Her eyes flicked toward the city beyond, thinking of the countless times Earth had survived threats that other species considered impossible. "We adapt, we improvise, and we act. Then perhaps they will see what I see." The elders were already seated, their forms elegant and almost statuesque. Each one exuded authority, and Lena felt a momentary thrill of apprehension, but not fear. Humans could face the unknown without surrendering themselves. The head elder spoke first, a tall figure with skin like liquid silver. "Princess Kalira, we have been informed that the representative of Earth arrives not only as a guest, but as a potential ally. We welcome you, Lena Vera. Tell us, what can your species offer the Zephyrian Empire? We can solve problems, think in ways that are unexpected, and act decisively when needed." She let her words hang in the air, feeling their weight. The elders' expressions were neutral, but Lena sensed the faintest flicker of surprise. "You speak boldly for one so young," another elder said, her voice melodic but firm. "Do you not fear making errors in a society that is not your own? That is what we bring: courage, initiative, and solutions when none seem possible." The princess had seen something in Lena that the council might not yet recognize: the spark of humanity, the resilience that had carried humans across countless worlds. Their discussion was interrupted suddenly by a warning alarm. A deep, resonant sound filled the chamber, vibrating through the walls and floors. Panels along the walls flickered red, displaying rapid movement of hostile craft approaching the city. The council members stiffened, their calm composure faltering as the threat became apparent. Lena's eyes narrowed. She had expected protocol and debate, but nothing could prepare her for the immediacy of danger. Kalira's hands rose slightly, a gesture Lena recognized from their observations yesterday, commanding yet restrained. The princess froze, her mind racing through procedures, calculations, and strategies. Lena noticed the hesitation, the rare pause in Kalira's normally flawless demeanor. It was the same moment she had seen in the ceremonial hall when they first met, the princess frozen in thought and assessment. But now the stakes were higher. The city, the council, the very lives of its people were at risk. Lena stepped forward. "I can help," she said, her voice calm but firm. "I have seen patterns you may not notice. Let me try." She looked to the council, who were confused by the human's boldness. Then she nodded. "Do what you can, but be cautious." She could see what the Zephyrians had missed. The attackers were not only fast, but also adaptive, changing trajectories in unpredictable ways. The city's defenses were powerful, but not designed to respond to such improvisation. Lena's mind raced, applying the human principles of observation, intuition, and ingenuity. She issued commands through the console, rerouting energy flows, adjusting shield patterns, and creating traps that the attackers could not predict. Her actions were precise yet flexible, allowing the city's defenses to adapt dynamically. The council watched in stunned silence, unable to fully comprehend the speed and logic of human improvisation. Kalira, however, observed every move, her frozen state slowly giving way to admiration. She saw not recklessness, but clarity, creativity, and courage. The attackers approached the city gates, their ships weaving and twisting in complex patterns. Lena anticipated their moves, adjusting the defenses in real time. A wave of energy pulses shot from the city's towers, disrupting the enemy formation. Shields shimmered and flared, absorbing attacks and redirecting energy in ways the Zephyrians had not considered. The attackers faltered, then retreated, unable to overcome the human-guided strategy. The chamber erupted in murmurs, the elders exchanging astonished glances. Kalira stepped forward, her usual calm restored but now mixed with awe. "You have done what none of us could," she said softly, almost to herself. Lena turned to her, breathing lightly but steady. "It was a matter of observation and action," she said. "Humans have faced impossible situations before. We adapt and we act. Perhaps there is more to your species than we anticipated." His voice carried a note of respect that few humans had ever received. Lena felt a surge of satisfaction, not from ego, but from the recognition of humanity's potential. Kalira's gaze met Lena's again. "You did not just act," she said. "You saw possibilities we overlooked, patterns we could not predict. You think differently. That is what makes you human." Her voice was quiet but intense, and for the first time, Lena felt the depth of the princess's respect. Not admiration for beauty, power, or status, but for courage, intelligence, and ingenuity. As the council resumed their meeting, now with renewed focus and respect, Lena remained at the console, making subtle adjustments to ensure the city's defenses were stable. She noticed small improvements that Zephyrians could adopt, ways human thinking could enhance their precision and efficiency. It was a quiet victory, but one that would resonate long after the immediate threat was gone. Later, as the city settled into calm once more, Kalira led Lena to a quiet observation deck overlooking the gates. The suns were low, casting long shadows across the floating towers. Lena leaned against the railing, feeling the hum of energy beneath her fingers. The city was safe, the attackers gone, and yet her mind remained alert, thinking of what had just happened. "You did not just survive," Kalira said softly. "You improved what was already perfect. Humans, you are more capable than I imagined. I see why I froze the first time I met you. There is something unpredictable, courageous, and brilliant in you, something that challenges tradition and shows new possibilities. That is rare." And in doing so, she had proven that even a single human could make a difference in a world that believed itself flawless. The night deepened, and the stars above Zephyra sparkled faintly through the energy field that protected the city. Lena and Kalira stood together, two beings from different worlds, yet connected through mutual respect and understanding. In that moment, the princess no longer saw Lena as a guest or a pawn, but as a partner, someone whose courage and ingenuity could complement the perfection of Zephyrian society. Lena realized that this was only the beginning. The council would remember her actions, the city would operate differently because of her, and Kalira's view of humanity had shifted irrevocably. Humans were clever, brave, and adaptable. And even here in the heart of the Zephyrian Empire, one human had left a mark that no tradition, rule, or protocol could erase. As Lena returned to her quarters that night, exhaustion mixed with exhilaration. She had faced the test, acted decisively, and survived. And more than survived, she had impressed beings who had thought themselves beyond human capabilities. Her mind raced with possibilities for tomorrow, for the future, and for the ways humanity could continue to shine in this alien world. For even a single human with courage, intelligence, and adaptability could change everything. Somewhere in the palace, Kalira watched from her own chambers, still remembering the human who had frozen her once, and now had proven that humans were not only capable of standing beside Zephyrians, but of showing them the power of ingenuity and bravery. And in that realization, the princess knew that everything about the arranged alliance, about tradition, and about the future could change because of one human's actions. The city of Zephyra was unusually quiet the next morning, not from peace, but from the ripple of curiosity and anticipation that Lena could feel in the air. After the incident with the attackers, her presence was no longer just tolerated. It was watched, studied, and perhaps even feared in some subtle way. That was fine with her. Humans had never sought approval. They had always carved paths through situations that others thought impossible. Lena felt a quiet satisfaction as she prepared for the day. Today, she would explore not only the city, but the opportunities her mind had been opening since she arrived. Princess Kalira met her at the guest wing again. The princess's usual poise was tempered by a softer confidence, as if she had begun to accept the idea that humans were more than simple guests or symbols of alliance. Her eyes, bright and observant, met Lena's with a mixture of respect and curiosity. "The elders have requested your presence," Kalira said, her tone almost casual, though Lena knew it carried weight. "But today we will also observe the city in action beyond the chambers and halls. You will see where tradition meets challenge and where humans may make a difference." "Then let us begin." Where Zephyrians followed strict protocol, Lena saw gaps for creativity. And where humans had solved problems on Earth by improvising, she now saw potential to do the same here. They approached a bridge connecting two towers. The energy field that supported it pulsed irregularly. Lena stepped forward and placed her hand near a control panel. The field responded immediately, stabilizing under her touch. Kalira watched silently, her expression unreadable but her eyes sharp. "You manipulate the energy with ease," she observed. "Few Zephyrians would dare to touch it without formal authorization. We do not wait for permission when something must be corrected." She glanced at the flowing currents beneath the bridge. "And sometimes, improvisation is faster than protocol." Scientists and engineers moved among floating devices, analyzing data and adjusting experiments. Lena noticed a minor but significant flaw in a containment field. One miscalculation could have caused an energy surge. She stepped forward and adjusted the parameters, subtly correcting the calculation. The lead scientist paused, blinking in surprise. "That adjustment, it works better than expected," they murmured. Lena only nodded, her mind already moving to the next observation. "You do not just adapt," Kalira said quietly as they moved on. "You improve what already exists. Humans have a way of thinking that is beyond structure. Humans see potential where others see rules. We combine knowledge with creativity and action." Lena stepped forward and used a simple method she had learned back on Earth, distributing energy evenly across the platforms and stabilizing the packages. The vendor's eyes widened in gratitude, and Kalira's gaze lingered longer than usual. The princess was learning something subtle. Human ingenuity often seemed effortless, but it was profoundly effective. As the day progressed, they moved to a transportation hub where citizens and visitors traveled through complex energy corridors. Lena noticed a recurring bottleneck. Multiple transports converged at a single intersection, causing minor but constant delays. Using a quick mental model, she suggested an adjustment to routing algorithms, allowing the traffic to flow smoothly. Engineers implemented her idea immediately, testing and confirming its efficiency. Kalira observed silently, her usual discipline tempered with astonishment. The princess had seen Zephyrians operate flawlessly for centuries, and now a single human was improving processes in real time. By afternoon, Lena and Kalira found themselves in a quiet garden atop one of the tallest towers. Energy blooms pulsed softly, reflecting the light of the setting suns. The princess turned to Lena, her expression thoughtful. "You continue to defy my expectations," she said softly. "I believed humans were clever, yes, but I did not imagine this ability to adapt instantly, to see solutions where we see only patterns. We survive, we observe, we act. We find ways to succeed when everything seems designed to fail us." Recognition from the princess was valuable, yes, but more importantly, it confirmed what she already knew. Humans had abilities others often overlooked. The strength of a species was not just in technology or tradition, but in courage, creativity, and adaptability. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden commotion. An energy module in the nearby tower began to malfunction, its containment field flickering dangerously. Citizens scattered, guards moved to secure the area, and panic started to ripple through the city. Lena's instincts kicked in. She rushed forward, analyzing the field, identifying the source of instability, and correcting it using a combination of human improvisation and understanding of the Zephyrian systems. The module stabilized, and the crisis passed without harm. Kalira followed closely, watching Lena's every move. "You act without hesitation," she observed. "Even when danger arises, you assess and respond instantly. Humans are brave in ways we rarely anticipate. We also understand that sometimes, solutions are found outside traditional methods." Her goal had never been to impress, but to act, to adapt, and to help. Yet the recognition from someone as esteemed as Kalira carried weight. It was clear that the princess was beginning to question centuries of tradition, opening her mind to new possibilities. As evening approached, Lena and Kalira returned to the palace. The city below shimmered with lights, the energy bridges glowing softly and floating transports gliding gracefully between towers. Lena felt a quiet satisfaction as she looked out over the scene. She had acted, adapted, and influenced systems that had seemed untouchable. Even in a world far beyond Earth, human ingenuity had made an impact. Kalira walked beside her, her expression thoughtful. Tomorrow, the elders will reconvene to discuss the alliance. Many will still doubt your abilities, your presence here, but I have seen what humans can do. And you will continue to act with courage, creativity, and wisdom. You are remarkable, Lena Vera, not because of status or technology, but because of who you are. Lena knew that in this moment the partnership between human and Zephyrian was forming, not through ceremony, politics, or tradition, but through action, insight, and mutual understanding. The night deepened, and Lena returned to her quarters, the hum of the city below echoing softly in her ears. She reflected on the day, how she had observed, acted, and influenced systems that had seemed beyond her understanding. She realized that her presence was not only changing Kalira's perception of humanity, but also planting seeds of innovation in Zephyrian society itself. The ripple of human ingenuity could spread further than she had imagined. Somewhere in the palace, Kalira lingered on her terrace, watching the human lights of the city and thinking of Lena. The princess recalled the first moment she froze at Lena's presence, then the courage and intelligence she had witnessed that day. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and adaptable, qualities that Zephyrians admired silently but rarely acknowledged. And one human, Lena Vera, had begun to show that even in a world of precision and tradition, there was room for change, growth, and the spark of something extraordinary. Lena lay in her bed, eyes open, mind alert. She had survived the day, influenced systems, and earned the quiet respect of a princess. Yet she knew that tomorrow, challenges would come again, perhaps greater, more complex, and more dangerous. But she also knew that humans were capable. Humans adapted, acted, and thrived where others faltered. And in this alien world, her presence was proof that even a single human could make a profound difference. As sleep finally took her, Lena carried a quiet certainty. She was no longer merely a visitor. She was a force, a spark of humanity in Zephyra, and she would continue to shine, changing perceptions, inspiring respect, and proving that humans were capable of far more than anyone, alien or otherwise, had imagined. The morning sunlight spilled across the towers of Zephyra, casting long shadows over the city that had already begun to stir with energy. Today was the day of the council's final deliberation regarding the alliance and the arranged marriage that had brought Lena Vera to this alien world. The tension was palpable. Citizens, guards, and attendants all seemed aware that history was in the making, though none could predict its outcome. Lena stood in her quarters, adjusting her satchel, and took a deep breath. She had faced tests, crises, and skepticism, and yet she was ready. She had proven herself through action, ingenuity, and courage. Now she would prove that humans were capable of something more: partnership, understanding, and respect. Princess Kalira arrived silently, as always, her presence commanding attention even in her subtle movements. "Are you prepared?" she asked softly, though the weight in her eyes betrayed a mixture of pride and apprehension. "I am," Lena replied firmly. "I have done what I can to demonstrate our abilities. Today they will see that humans are not just guests or pawns, but equals in intelligence, courage, and creativity. Then let us go, but remember, not all will understand immediately. Some will resist. You must remain steadfast." Lena realized that her presence had already begun to shift perceptions. Humans, once considered outsiders, were now a source of fascination and cautious admiration. The council chamber awaited. The elders, seated in their circular arrangement, regarded her silently. Their expressions were calm, but Lena could sense the tension beneath the surface. These were beings who had relied on centuries of tradition, whose decisions shaped the destiny of a powerful empire. And now, one human had entered their midst and challenged their assumptions, not with force, but with intellect, courage, and ingenuity. The head elder, his silver skin gleaming in the ambient light, spoke first. "Lena Vera, your presence among us has been unexpected. Your actions have altered outcomes in ways we did not anticipate. We must now consider the implications for our alliance and for the future of Zephyra." His gaze swept over the council, then returned to Lena. "Explain why we should accept not only your presence but your partnership with Princess Kalira." "I am here not to dominate, nor to impose, nor to merely observe. I am here to act, to adapt, and to contribute." Humans have faced challenges that seemed impossible and have survived by thinking creatively, observing carefully, and acting decisively. That is what I bring: ingenuity, courage, and the ability to see possibilities that others may overlook. And I offer partnership, not just with Princess Kalira but with Zephyra itself as equals. She had seen Lena act in the face of danger, solve problems no Zephyrian had anticipated, and now stand before them with clarity and confidence. The princess knew that these words were not just rhetoric, they were truth. One elder leaned forward, her tone cautious. Your words are strong, human, but words alone are insufficient. How can we trust that your actions will align with our needs and traditions? That is proof of my commitment and capability. Humans can see what others cannot, adapt when rigid systems fail, and act decisively when moments demand courage. That is our strength, and I offer it in partnership, not in defiance of your society. Lena Vera has acted decisively, with intelligence and courage. She has improved systems we assumed flawless, stabilized crises we could not predict, and demonstrated the value of human perspective. I speak not only as a princess, but as one who has witnessed the truth. Humans are capable of greatness. And one human has proven it here. The head elder's gaze returned to her. You speak convincingly, human, and your actions have been remarkable. Perhaps we have underestimated the value of your species. Perhaps, as Princess Kalira suggests, the future of Zephyra benefits from this partnership. That is all I ask, the chance to prove through action that humans can contribute, collaborate, and strengthen Zephyra. We do not seek dominance, only partnership. The alliance will proceed, and the union between Princess Kalira and Lena Vera will not be symbolic alone, but a true partnership of equals. Humans are unpredictable, but their ingenuity and courage are undeniable. We accept that today. She had not merely survived, she had proven humanity's value in a society that had never truly understood them. And more than that, she had earned the respect of one of the most intelligent, cautious, and powerful beings she had ever met, Princess Kalira. The princess approached her, eyes bright with admiration. You have done more than I imagined, Kalira said softly. You have proven that humans are capable, brave, and wise, and you have changed not only my perception, but the perception of all who watch today. Today, you have not only proven your worth, you have inspired change, and that is rare in any species. Even the elders, who had relied on centuries of protocol, found themselves acknowledging that unpredictability, creativity, and courage had value alongside tradition. As the sun set, casting long reflections across the city, Lena and Kalira stood on a terrace overlooking Zephyra. The city shimmered below, alive with energy and light. The princess turned to her, a rare softness in her expression. Do you see what you have done? She asked. You have changed not just the council, but the way Zephyrians think. You have proven that humans are not merely visitors, but catalysts for growth. And sometimes, all it takes is one human to make a difference. The city below seemed to glow brighter, as if acknowledging the union of two worlds, two species, and two spirits committed to collaboration and mutual respect. It was not just a marriage or an alliance. It was a statement of possibility. Humanity had proven its worth, not through conquest, but through ingenuity, courage, and partnership. As night fell, Lena reflected on the journey that had brought her here. From a reluctant envoy to a respected partner, from a stranger in a foreign world to a catalyst for change. She had faced doubt, danger, and the weight of expectation, and had overcome them all. Humanity's spark had shone in the heart of an alien empire, and in doing so, she had shown that even a single human could shape the destiny of worlds. Kalira stood beside her, gazing at the city's lights, and finally spoke the words Lena had long hoped to hear. I once froze when I first saw you. Today I see clearly. Humans are remarkable. And you are extraordinary. For today, humanity has left its mark, and the future will remember it. And in that moment, the bond between human and princess, outsider and ruler, had transformed into something stronger: respect, partnership, and a shared vision for the future. Lena knew that challenges would come again. But she also knew that humans, even a single human, could meet them head-on, adapt, and succeed. And somewhere in the glowing towers of Zephyra, Princess Kalira knew the same truth. Together, they had created a new chapter, not only for themselves, but for the history of two species, united in possibility, courage, and mutual respect. And in that unity, the spark of humanity shone brighter than ever.